What's up, guys? New episode of Site Visit at our Project 142, and we're going to talk about door details and door hardware. This is an almost complete interior door, and I say almost because it's not painted, but you can see everything's plastered in. The door is done. We have our panel cut out. We have our baseboard detail, and that detail runs right across. And we have this killer for Marnie hardware. Look at the way this works. Keeps it off just enough to allow it to spin. Really slick looking. Everything's protected while it's sitting here on site. Here's our deadbolt for our privacy. Our latches aren't installed just yet, so if I pull that tight, you get this nice 3/16 gap all the way around this door. And this door is flush with the outside, but it actually swings in. So that's how they're achieving that. You can see on this door, you have this rabbet. So when it shuts, it sits really deep into that wall. This side will be waterproof plaster. When you pull it, how slick does that look, right? And then we have our flush baseboard detail we've showed you guys before. Baseboard went in, came down, have that shadow, or that that Pitcon reglet. Let me get down low here. This is a mud flange, and then we have a 1/2 by 1/2, and then that piece of aluminum actually goes into a channel on this baseboard, and this baseboard is then tied into our Easy Jam mud flange. Let me show you real quick just to remind you, that's what that looks like. So this is a detail we came up with as a team, and this is what it looks like when it's plastered, ready for paint. I'll show you what it looks like after paint. But then what I wanted to show you here is that our door, the guys, once they're hung, everything's adjusted, they mark it, and that gap actually runs all the way through to appear as though that reglet goes right through the door. Now, the team over at Schiffer didn't want just a shadow gap at the bottom of the door and make it look like we were trying to make it invisible. So instead, we took that same 1/2 inch and created this single panel all the way up. Now that gap on the floor is definitely 1/2 by 1/2, but on the door it's only about 1/8 of an inch deep. The reason we did that is to make sure that we were staying within the MDF veneer face, and we weren't going into the structural core of these doors. So you can see up close, it's a little rough, but we'll go through, take some sandpaper, clean that up. It'll look nice when it's all painted. And I said to you that I would show you what this looks like when it's all painted. And that's exactly what it looks like here. So if you remember, you can kind of see that's all painted. That's before paint. And that's before plaster. And I know you guys are going to ask, this right here is an epoxy. We essentially kind of see, but the wood is rabbeted back. We've screwed this into the wood and then use an epoxy here that is really important that it bonds with aluminum, it bonds with steel, and it bonds with wood. It's paintable, has some flexibility, flexibility to it, so it won't crack right here. It's obviously the weak joint, and so far so good. And we also epoxy our aluminum to our steel, Easy Jam. A couple other details you can kind of see here is that this actually is shimmed out. That's actually a piece of ram board. The reason is we want to make sure that this edge is completely flush with our baseboard. I know anyone that's seen the shadow gap done before, you get the waviness in the wall, or the shadow gap that sticks proud or set back. It just doesn't look good. Really important to keep that hard edge completely in line with that. So we'll build up plaster to hit that edge so that shim is just fine. Another thing to note, I don't know if you can see it on this one, but here we go. The aluminum is actually only stapled to the blue board. That's an important detail. We have definitely screwed through this aluminum in the past and into, say, blocking or a stud, but our plasterer gave us the heads up that it really should be independent of the framing behind it, and that should be connected to your face of blue board. Now, it's probably a pretty minimal minimal concern, But that's, you know, we're calling this paranoid plaster, jokingly, just like we replaced a lot of these TrueFig plates with blue board because of the absorption rate, doing everything to make sure we're eliminating imperfections, because our expectations with this job, our clients' expectations are really, really high, and we need to make sure that we're delivering on that. I've shared this room before, but this is the painted room, and it looks amazing, but there's definitely some room for improvement, and to make sure that we bring it up to our client's expectation. Let's run upstairs. I want to show you what we did with our exterior door hardware. This was a great catch. Our lead carpenter, Patrick, caught this. Ordered these doors not prepped for hardware. These are Marvin units. And when they were going to put the Fermani hardware in, they, you know, I think typically you're going to measure from the bottom of the door and set them at a regular height. But he actually sent me a text, and as well as Nick Yost, our project manager, a text, and said, hey, do you think we should match it to the height of your interior doors? So when you're in here, they're at the same height. Now, there's a couple things with that. On the outside, you have these pavers. And on the outside, that's gonna feel awfully low, because as you see down here, you're about 6 inches lower than outside. Now I'll get to that in a second, but on the outside, you have to think of that. Well, is it gonna be uncomfortable to open the door? The answer really is probably not. But even more so, what's important to note is that you're not gonna be opening and closing that door. If you're out there, it's a small little patio, that door is probably gonna be open. So for the minimal amount of times you're gonna open that door, I think it's an offset that's totally worth it, where it might be a little lower than you would hope. So these line up on the inside. So good call by Pat, our lead carpenter. He had, like I said, shot me a text and asked about that. And it's just a great detail, because, you know, I'm sitting kind of where the bed will be, and to have that line up with that, that's just another detail that, you know, was really well thought out up front. Not much to update on the bathrooms, and it's a little dark over here, so I'm not sure I can share with you, but guys did a great job protecting them. We got these starting to be finished. So I'm not going to uncover them because the guys have done such a good job. But as you can see, finished treads. We're waiting on glass. Glass is due to us any day now. We've been actually waiting almost 12, 13 weeks for that, with COVID delays and so on and so forth. But treads are finished, ready for glass to go on, and the guys come in. Some ram board goes across the top. Cellophane makes it easy so you're not taping to any finish. And then we always keep our corner protectors from packaging, say for doors or anything like that. Gives us the opportunity to put it on this edge. You know that's going to be the leading edge that's going to get damaged the most. And hopefully with the homeowners, that, you know, it's inevitable that they're probably going to see some wear and tear, but anything we can do to protect it prior to them moving in. And then of course, when they move in, we break that edge, or when we finish, we break that edge, so you aren't dealing with a sharp edge that can break easier. Last thing is, well, first off, this stellar view, right? Patio went in. Can I unlock this? First thing you see is that we are lower with this door than the patio. So this is actually gonna get pavers, and we're gonna cut and miter these pavers to have a drop down, and we'll add snow melt. And I said something downstairs in the primary suite about the patio out there and how it was higher than the bedroom. That's gonna get snow melt as well, and there's built-in drains below. So this is gonna get a lower section snow melt, so we don't have any damage, any water damage from snow building up against this door. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make it lower. There was very, very little we could do. We were constrained by the skylight. If you guys remember, the skylight, the existing skylight we replaced was actually higher, so we were able to lower this one down, which Nick did a great job here detailing it right at the bottom of this head house. So you have the pavers right underneath that copper work, dead flush with our skylight, future gas pit over here, future outdoor kitchen here, and then we're going to have a Ipe screen wall on either side, And then here we're going to have, man, look at that sky. And then here we're going to have a wrought iron railing because from the mall, which is that center section in between these two streets, you need to be able to look up and see something that is approved by the association. So just like our wine cellar, that is walkable. So looking down, when that space is finished, it's going to be really cool. You can kind of see the sandblasted. Actually, it's like almost like a glass bead, and that's exactly what they are. They're glass beads, and it's for non-slip. So if it's wet, you're not going to slip and fall on this thing. But you know, really, it's very comfortable. It's not something that you're thinking about as you're walking across. So it's not, you know, again, you're not walking around it. You're really just enjoying the fact that it's flush and you can walk across it. But yeah, it's gonna be an incredible piece, and during the day it lets in a tremendous amount of light. And you know, a couple of things about this is the previous one I mentioned that we replaced. The reason we replaced it is because it wasn't thermally broken. So this metal edge here actually was continuous aluminum that went all the way into the interior, and you know, there were very little options for us to prevent it from condensing when it's cold out and the heat was going on the inside, so it's sweat. So we actually found a company that builds thermally broken walkable skylights. And that's what we did. We had that custom made, brought up here, and we're good to go. Wind's messing up my hair. I know you guys like these site visits. I'm gonna spend the next 20 minutes trying to figure out how to lock this door. We'll see you guys next week. Make sure you guys subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay tuned for the second episode of Revealed, a new web series that we have on our YouTube channel where Ken takes you behind the scenes in our shop. And as always, make sure you check us out on Instagram. We'll see you then.